Hey, you. You're finally awake.
The PlayStation 2 is often remembered as the golden age for Japanese role-playing games. From beloved classics like Final Fantasy X and Persona 4 to cult favourites like Shadow Hearts and Xenosaga, the system was overflowing with epic narratives, inventive combat systems and unforgettable characters. But for every JRPG that reached legendary status, there were others that quietly slipped through the cracks. Games with ambitious ideas, unique storytelling, or genre-defining mechanics that never got the recognition they deserved. Whether due to limited marking, niche appeal, or being overshadowed by more prominent titles, these JRPGs have since faded from the spotlight. So in this video, we're diving deep into 7 often overlooked JRPGs that found home on the PlayStation 2. Now, as always, before we get into the list, if you really think I deserve it, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want more of me, we've got a weekly podcast where this week we're looking at Sonic Rush for the Nintendo DS. And we've also got a $1 a month Patreon where you can join the Smut Squad, get involved in the podcast, and get your own additional show. Right, let's get into it, shall we? 7 often overlooked JRPGs for the PlayStation 2. Radiata Stories. Now, Radiata Stories is a hidden gem developed by Tri-Ace and published by Square Enix in 2005. At the time, Tri-Ace was known for its innovative battle systems in games like Star Ocean and Valkyrie Profile, and Radiata Stories continued that legacy with a unique mix of real-time combat, branching storylines and whimsical charm. Despite being overshadowed by other JRPGs of its era, it offered one of the most open and dynamic worlds available on PS2. The game follows Jack Russell. His name is not fucking Jack Russell. Really? Did they just look at the dog and go, that'll do? What's his partner called? Sausage. And what's his girlfriend called? Doberman. And what's the baddie called? Alsatian. Ridiculous Jack Russell. Either way, Jack Russell is a young and somewhat brash aspiring knight who's determined to follow in his father's legendary footsteps. So what's his frickin' dad called? Beagle. Sorry. What starts as a traditional coming-of-age tale soon diverges into a multifaceted story involving political intrigue, racial tensions between humans and non-humans, and ultimately a war that challenges Jack's loyalties to his master or to his walk. Sorry. The narrative branches significantly depending on key choices, leading to 2 completely different story arcs, which adds immense replay value. Radiata's gameplay hinges on real-time battle system that allows players to control Jack while issuing commands to teammates. A key feature is the ability to recruit over 170 different characters, each with unique skills and backstories. This adds a Pokemon-like layer of depth, encouraging players to explore every corner of the city and countryside. Unlike most RPGs, the world of Radiata runs on a clock. Characters follow daily schedules, adding realism and immersion to the experience. Graphically, the game boasts a bright, almost storybook aesthetic, using a cel-shaded style that complements its fairy tale tone. While not technically groundbreaking, its art direction is consistently charming and distinctive. Coupled with a light-hearted soundtrack and quirky writing, it offers a world that's easy to get lost in. Critical reception was generally positive, praising the innovative world design, character interactions and branching story. However, some reviewers criticised the combat for being overly simplistic and noted that many recruitable characters felt underdeveloped. Despite this, fans appreciated its world building and personality, especially the way the game's tone shift depending on the story path chosen. Radiata Stories is a modest cult following, but it never achieved mainstream recognition. Part of this reason was timing. It released in the twilight years of the PS2 when attention was shifting to newer consoles. Additionally, being a standalone title with no sequels or spin-offs meant it lacked the branding power of more enduring franchises. Why is it often forgotten? Well, for one, it came out amidst a flood of high-profile JRPGs like Final Fantasy XII and Kingdom Hearts 2. Additionally, its quirky tone and sometimes uneven pacing made it a tough sell for those looking for a traditional JRPG experience. The decision to make much of the story progression dependent on the player choice may have confused players used to more of a linear narrative. Yet those who give Radiata Stories a chance often come away enchanted. The best moments are small, personal ones, stumbling upon a secret character's hidden storyline, watching the world evolve with your choices, or simply enjoying the slapstick humour that permeates many of the side quests. Few games reward exploration and experimentation quite like this. Radiata Story remains a bold, charming and deeply creative JRPG that deserves more attention than it received. It's a game that dared to do something different, and those willing to embrace its quirks, often one of the most rewarding adventures on the PlayStation 2. Jade Cocoon 2. Jade Cocoon 2 is a 2001 role-playing game developed by Genki and published by Ubisoft, created exclusively for the PlayStation 2. Set a century after the original Jade Cocoon, the story follows Kahu, a hopeful beast hunter who aims to become a cocoon master in the world where the title has faded from memory. During his quest, a curse from a mysterious fairy named Nico leaves Kahu with little time to live, unless he retrieves 4 magical orbs from the elemental forest, aided by Levant, the hero of the first game. The game preserves its predecessor's monster breeding core, but evolves it significantly. Players hatch divine beast eggs found in elemental forests and train, merge and battle them using a unique combat mechanic, the Beast Amulet. In the early stages you control 2 monsters per turn, and later up to 3 from a pool of 8, placing them strategically on a spinning elemental grid, fire, wind, water and earth, where placement elemental affinities directly influence the attacks. Merging is pivotal. Combining creatures allows them to learn multi-element attacks, leading to deeper strategy and playstyles. The sheer variety of monsters, hundreds available, enhances the addictive breeding experiences and encourages experimentation. The storyline supports exploration without getting overly prioritised. Many players note the narrative is engaging when desired, but easily skippable when diving into the gameplay. The game features multiple elemental forests with branching levels, non-linear progression, and arena battles against other beast hunters, adding layers of replay value. Visually, Jade-Cocoon 2 makes a clear leap up for its full 3D environments, 200 cutscenes, and complete voice acting, which is a substantial upgrade from its PlayStation predecessor. The soundtrack and ambient audio contribute significantly to the mood. The music effectively captures the tone of the battle's environments through some found with the forest ambience a little sparse. Still, the visuals are often described as gorgeous, and the game praised for being fun and addictive, even if it just lacked that special something that would elevate it from good to great. At launch, Jade-Cocoon 2 earned favourable reviews overall, with a Metacritic score that surpassed its predecessor and a 31 out of 40 for Famitsu in Japan. GameSpot rated it 8.1 out of 10, noting its improvements but citing a lack of ultimate alchemy. Fans applauded its depth and the monster breeding system, and some called it the ultimate monster breeder, and lamented it being overshadowed by blockbuster releases like Final Fantasy X and Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. The game's strengths include deep strategic building and combat systems, high monster variety and customization, a strong audio-visual presentation with full voice acting, and a flexible narrative with non-linear progression and side activities. Weaknesses mostly relate to occasional audio emptiness and a sense that despite its polish, it didn't have the sheer impact of the biggest titles of its time. Jade-Cocoon 2 is an ambitious, well-crafted RPG that stands out for its monster breeding depth, strategic combat mechanics, and charming presentation. It never reached the mainstream fame of contemporaries, yet remains a beloved gem among genre fans, especially those who appreciate combat strategy, creature evolution, and exploring immersive, enchanting worlds. Rogue Galaxy. Rogue Galaxy, developed by Level 5 and published by Sony Computer Entertainment, released in Japan in 2005 and internationally a year later. With bold aspirations and a massively galaxy-spanning narrative, and the pedigree of a developer fresh off the success of Dark Cloud 2, Rogue Galaxy was poised to be a major hit. However, despite its technical accomplishments and stylish delivery, the game was quickly overlooked amid a crowded RPG market and the rising prominence of HD consoles. The story centers around Jasta Rogue, a young adventurer on a desert planet who dreams of exploring the stars. A chance encounter with space pirates lead him to join their crew aboard their ship, launching a tale of interstellar escapades, ancient technology, and galaxy-altering prophecies. It's a space opera infused with classic JRPG structure, planet-hopping quests, dramatic character arcs, and an ever-unfolding mystery about the fate of the universe. Gameplay takes cues from action RPGs, utilising a fast-paced real-time battle system where players can swap between 3 characters on the fly. Combat is fluid and flashy, blending swordplay, range attacks and abilities in a system reminiscent of Kingdom Hearts. One standout feature is the Revelation Flow, a grid-based skill tree system where players unlock new abilities, use collected items, encouraging thorough exploration and item management. Rogue Galaxy boasts a striking cel-shaded art style that still holds up remarkably well. Characters are expressive, environments are rich and detailed, and the sci-fi aesthetic blends seamlessly with fantasy elements. Whether it's navigating the neon-lit alleys of a cyberpunk metropolis or exploring lush alien jungles, each location feels vibrant and unique. The game also ran without loading screens between battles and areas, a notable technical feat for the PlayStation 2. Critics generally responded positively, praising the visuals, variety of content, and smooth gameplay. However, it wasn't without criticism. Some reviewers cited repetitive dungeon design and a bloated second half that dragged the pacing. Even so, for many, its ambition and scope far outweighed its flaws. So why then is Rogue Galaxy often forgotten? Timing played a major role. Released just as the PlayStation 3 was launching, it was often overshadowed by the hype surrounding next-gen hardware. Additionally, despite Sony's backing, it didn't receive the marketing push that other titles like Final Fantasy XII did. Its standalone nature and lack of a franchise branding also meant it faded its obscurity faster than it deserved. The best moments in Rogue Galaxy come from its sheer sense of adventure, assembling your ragtag crew, uncovering planetary secrets, building weapons through a deep synthesis system, and chasing the myth of Eden. The game's tone balances whimsy, danger, and wonder in a way few RPGs manage. Today, Rogue Galaxy stands in testament to your creativity and technical skill level 5. It's a game filled with heart, brimming with content, and fearless in its ambition. For those who missed it, it's a vast, exhilarating journey through the stars that still holds up brilliantly and one that deserves a place among the PS2 greatest RPGs. Musashi Samurai Legend. Musashi Samurai Legend was released in 2005 by Square Enix as a follow-up to Brave Fencer Musashi on the original PlayStation. While it retained the action RPG form of its predecessor, the sequel opted for a cel-shaded aesthetic and a heavy emphasis on flashy anime-style combat. Although it had the backing of a major publisher and a unique visual flair, it failed to make a significant splash in the West and quickly faded into obscurity. Players assume the role of Musashi, a brash, well-meaning young swordsman who is summoned to a futuristic world in desperate need of a hero. The world is dominated by the Gandrake Corporation, which seeks to exploit mystical resources for power and profit. Musashi's mission is to rescue 5 kidnapped priestesses, whose virtual power is vital to stopping Gandrake's rule. The story mixes ancient mythicism with modern dystopian tropes, creating a setting that's part sci-fi, part high fantasy. Combat is the game's primary focus. It's a real-time third-person system where Musashi wields dual swords and engages in high-speed battles with hordes of enemies. One of the standout features is the ability to learn enemy skills by defeating them, adding variety and customization to Musashi's abilities. The more you use certain skills and techniques, the stronger they become, encouraging experimentation and strategic thinking of how you engage with foes. Visually, the game is striking. The cel-shading technique was in vogue at the time, and Musashi Samurai Legend used it to create vibrant anime-like characters and environments. Unfortunately, the art style wasn't always complemented by the technical performance. Frame rate dips and clunky animations were not uncommon. The game's reception was mixed. Critics praised its art direction, fast-paced combat and soundtrack, but criticised repetitive level design, awkward voice acting, and occasionally stiff controls. Many felt the game didn't quite live up to the hype of the legacy of Brave Fencer Musashi, which had garnered a loyal fanbase. Still, there were fans who appreciated the game's unique identity and fun, arcadey combat system. Musashi Samurai Legend was largely forgotten for a number of reasons. Firstly, it released during a crowded year for RPGs, and its unusual mix of genres made it hard to market. Second, it lacked the narrative depth or world building that other Square Enix titles of the era were known for. And finally, as a sequel to a cult classic rather than a blockbuster hit, it didn't have that brand recognition as we've talked about previously. But what makes it worth revisiting? Well, the best moments in Musashi Samurai Legend are in the boss battles, massive over-the-top showdowns that demand fast reflexes and creative thinking. The feeling of mastering a new ability or tearing through enemies with upgraded sword techniques is pure arcade satisfaction. The game also has a quirky sense of humour and an offbeat charm that makes it more endearing than its flaws might suggest. In the end, Musashi Samurai Legend is a stylish, fast-paced action RPG that dared to be different. While it didn't quite reach its full potential, it still offers a unique and entertaining experience. For fans of anime aesthetics, quick combat and unconventional RPG storytelling, it's a title worth revisiting, especially if you missed it first time around. Tales of Legendia. Tales of Legendia, developed and published by Namco, was released for PlayStation 2 in 2005. As part of the long-running Tales series, it attempted to blend classic elements of the franchise with a more emotional and character-driven narrative. However, it was met with mixed responses upon release and quickly fell into the shadows of its more popular siblings like Tales of the Abyss and Tales of Symphonia. Despite this, Tales of Legendia has a devoted niche audience and contains one of the most heartfelt storylines in the franchise. The game follows Sinel Coolidge, shit name, a former soldier and fighter who becomes stranded on a massive drifting ship called the Legacy, an ancient relic of an advanced civilization. Senel and his adopted sister, Shirley, also shit, are pulled into a complex web of conflict between different cultures and factions that inhabit the ship. The storyline begins somewhat conventionally, but evolves into a deeply emotional saga about trust, sacrifice, and what it means to protect the people you love. The Tales of Legendia uses the linear motion battle system, a staple of the franchise, but in this case it was a slightly more simplified 2D variation. While functional and fast-paced, it lacked the refinement and innovation seen in later Tales entries. The battle system still allowed for combo-based attacks, spell casting, and switching characters mid-battle, but it was often considered a step back from previous games in terms of depth. Where Tales of Legendia truly shines is its character development. After the main storyline concludes, the game opens up an entirely new series of optional characters called character quests. These delve into the personal histories and emotional struggles of each party member, providing closure and depth that most JRPGs only hint at. This structure transforms what seem like standard character archetypes into fully fleshed out individuals and compelling arcs. Graphically, the game features a soft, watercoloured inspired visual style that sets it apart from more anime-centric direction of other Tales games. While not the most technically advanced games on the system, its aesthetic leads to a dreamlike and nostalgic atmosphere. The music is widely considered one of the best soundtracks in the entire Tales franchise, blending haunted melodies, powerful battle themes, and emotional character motifs. Critics were divided on the game. Some praised its story and music, while others were less enthusiastic about the battle mechanics and graphics. The localization also received criticism for its limited voice acting in the character quests, which felt like a missed opportunity to deepen player engagement. Yet many players who stuck with the game through its full arc found themselves emotionally invested in the characters and the world. Tales of Legendia is often forgotten because it doesn't neatly fit into the mold established by more successful Tales entries. Its older school battle system, softer visual told, and isolated story makes it feel like an outlier. Additionally, the lack of recurring characters or crossover references in later series entries further marginalise its visibility. But what makes it special is precisely what makes it unique. The focus on post-character development, the emotionally rich storytelling, and the gorgeous soundtrack elevate it well beyond its initial reputation. There are scenes, particularly during the character quests, that rival the most poignant members in the genre. For players willing to dig past its surface and forgive some mechanical flaws, Tales of Legendia offers some of the most emotionally rewarding experiences on the PlayStation 2. It's a title that dares to take its time, to tell a personal story, and to leave a quiet but lasting impression. Steambot Chronicles. Steambot Chronicles is one of those rare PlayStation 2 RPGs that defies traditional genre conventions and invites players into a world where choice, freedom, and personality matter as much as combat or quests. Developed by RM and released in 2005, this game blends RPG elements with sandbox mechanics, vehicle customization, and a whimsical, almost jazzy atmosphere. Unlike the typical JRPG of the era, Steambot Chronicles didn't focus solely on saving the world or battling ancient evils. Instead, it offered a life sim approach to storytelling, allowing players to carve their own path in a steampunk-inspired setting. The story follows Vanilla Bean. Oh, for fuck's sake. Really? Really? Fine, whatever. A young amnesiac who wakes up on a beach with no memory of his past, or clearly if he's called himself frickin' Vanilla Bean. Who decided that was a good idea then? Oh yeah, he doesn't know his name, let's call him Vanilla Bean. Frickin' anything could have been better than frickin' Vanilla Bean. Whatever. He's soon taken in by a travelling band of musicians, and from there the game opens up into a narrative that explores freedom, personal agency, and the consequences of one's choices. Vanilla can align himself with the peaceful endeavours or drift towards more self-serving paths, with the game's dialogue and quests adapting to players' decisions. The branching narrative is filled with colourful characters, each with distinct personalities and motivations, adding layers of charm and intrigue to the unfolding plot. Gameplay in Steambot Chronicles is both traditional and experimental. Players control Vanilla from a third-person perspective, exploring towns, talking to NPCs, and taking on a wide range of activities. But the heart of the game lies in its Trot mobiles, steam-powered customizable mechs used for everything from combat to cargo transport. These mechanical vehicles are highly modifiable, with different parts affecting speed, maneuverability, and combat effectiveness. The open-world designs allow for experimentation at the player's pace, with side quests, band gigs, trading missions, and even romantic subplots offering a sense of lived-in freedom. Graphically, the game showcases a warm, soft-shaded visual style that sets it apart from more anime-heavy contemporaries. The environments are richly detailed, ranging from rustic towns to bustling cities and open countrysides. The soundtrack deserves special mention. It's filled with jazzy tunes, live band performances, and an era-appropriate instrumentation that perfectly complements the game's mellow yet adventurous tone. It's a game that asks players to immerse themselves and take their time rather than rush to the finish line. Reviews at the time were largely positive, with critics praising its originality, charm, and player freedom. However, some took issue with clunky controls, occasional technical hiccups, and a lack of clear direction at times. These elements, while rough around the edges, are part of what makes the game unique. It's not a polished blockbuster, it's a quirky, ambitious adventure with a soul. Steambot Chronicles often goes forgotten in discussions of PlayStation 2 JRPGs because it doesn't fit neatly into any specific mould. It wasn't backed by a major franchise, nor did it receive any sequels elsewhere, although there was a Japan spin-off. It was released late in the PlayStation 2's life cycle, where attention was shifting, as we earlier said, to the PlayStation 3. Its slow-paced, open-ended design may have been overshadowed by more action-heavy or cinematic titles. Still, those who have played it often recall it fondly for its heart and originality. There's something undeniably satisfying about choosing whether to become a peace-loving musician or a profit-driven rogue, customizing your Trot mobile to suit your style, and simply living in the quirky world Irem created. Steambot Chronicles isn't just a game, it's an experience, one that encourages players to define what adventure means to them. And finally, .hack Infection. Often considered the gateway to one of the most ambitious multimedia franchises of the early 2000s, .hack Infection launched in 2003 on the PlayStation 2 and introduced players to a rich, fictional MMORPG experience long before actual online RPGs were common on consoles. Developed by CyberConnect 2 and published by Bandai, this was the first of a 4-part game series released in rapid succession. What made .hack Infection and its sequel so groundbreaking was their narrative ambition, intertwining game mechanics, anime series, novels, and other media franchises into a cohesive universe. And to be fair, I love the anime. I was fully hooked on all the games and the anime, and in fact one of the songs from that show I actually sing to my children as a bedtime lullaby, and my daughter loves it. Despite the innovation and fan dedication, the game has largely faded from popular memory, overshadowed by newer franchises and the decline of the multi-part serialized releases. The story of .hack Infection is layered and meta in nature. You play as Kite, a new player in the fictional MMORPG called The World. After his friend Orca is mysteriously rendered comatose in real life due to an in-game encounter with a rogue AI, Kite sets out to uncover the truth behind the game's abnormalities. Along the way, Kite discovers strange viruses, meets powerful hacker characters, and gets caught in a web of corrupted data and hidden truths about the digital universe he's entered. This blend of cyberpunk mystery and philosophical musings on artificial intelligence, consciousness, and the reality made the plot unlike anything else on the system at the time. Gameplay in .hack Infection mimics the structure of an online RPG, even though it's purely single-player experience. Players navigate a desktop interface, check emails, browse message boards, and use keywords to generate procedurally themed dungeons to explore. In combat, players control Kite directly, while issuing commands to two AI companions. The real-time battles are active and strategic, requiring a balance between attacks, healing, and using data drain, a neat mechanic that allows Kite to infect and weaken corrupted enemies, but at the risk of disabling his own character data. The dungeon crawling can feel repetitive at times, but the evolving narrative and constant drip of mystery keeps players engaged. The game received generally positive reviews at launch, with critics praising its innovative storytelling, multimedia integration, and atmospheric design. Some pointed out the repetitive environments and combat could be a drawback, especially for those unfamiliar with JRPGs or without interest in the overarching story across all 4 entries. Still, for those invested in the world, .hack Infection delivered a unique blend of anime and gameplay immersion that was largely unparalleled at the time. Legacy-wise, .hack was a trailblazer in how games could be part of a broader transmedia project. It helped layer the groundwork for a later series called Sword Art Online and was a precursor for the rise of digital culture and RPG storytelling. The later GU series built on its ideas and introduced more refined gameplay, but the original quadrilogy, beginning with Infection, still has a cult following that fondly remembers its eerie atmosphere and its head-of-a-time themes. Despite its contributions, .hack Infection has become a rarity in physical form, and it's not easily accessible on modern platforms, contributing to obscurity. I have all 4. So why has it been forgotten? Part of the reason is structural. The requirement was to buy and play all 4 games to experience the full story and was a big ask for casual players, not if you got them second-hand at the time. Additionally, the rise of actual MMORPGs like World of Warcraft and the emergence of more modern online JRPGs made the fake MMO structure of .hack feel outdated to new audiences. Bandai never gave the original games the remastered treatment they deserved, unlike the later GU trilogy, leaving them locked to aging hardware. But for those who played it, the best parts of .hack Infection were the moments when fiction and reality blurred. The emails that hinted at real-world consequences, the NPCs who felt like actual online players, and the eerie, corrupted environments that made every exploration feel unsettling. The game wasn't just about grinding levels. It was about uncovering a mystery and navigating a world that felt genuinely alive with secrets. For JRPG fans who love narrative experimentation, .hack Infection remains a forgotten gem that's still worth logging onto. And that's it. 7 often forgotten PS2 JRPGs. What do you think of this list? Do you agree with it? Do you think there's ones I need to talk about? Or have you played any of these games? Or do you own any of the .hack Infection series? Like I do. Yeah, I don't know where they are. They're somewhere in the UK hiding. Regardless, either way, do you like this list? If you do, please leave it a like if you think I deserve it, and subscribe for more content. I'll see you again in 3 days for another video. My name's been Danny. Chase your dreams. Bye bye.